Could I please have your attention, please? Thank you. I hope you're enjoying the evening thus far, Calabrese music, and I hope lovely dinner in the ambience that we have here. It is now my pleasure to introduce again the President, Vincenzo Alfonso Morfuni, to basically take care of the most important formal part of this evening. I would be very grateful if you would give him your utmost attention, as it is a very important and auspicious moment for our association. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vince, and it is indeed the most pleasant part of the evening, and indeed my very great pleasure to, in due course, announce the recipient of the 2021 Australian Calabrese Cultural Association Calabrese of the Year. Before I do so, I want to say something, because a lot of people have asked me, why do you bother? What's the importance of, being Calabrese? And the only answer I can give is that really, if identity is important, then that is both a reason and an explanation of what it is that we're doing. And in my view, identity is not only important, but vital, because it is who we are. And it doesn't matter what we adapt to or where we happen to be geographically. I think ultimately our heritage comes through. And that's not just for Calabrese, I think it's true for everyone. And I think the beauty of our society here in Australia is that we all are entitled to, and indeed in my view are obligated, to acknowledge our heritage and in fact celebrate the fact that we are blended into what on any view is a great society compared to many others where unfortunate people happen to be living at the present time. And identity, as I say, dictates who we are. And the other reason is that I believe in Australia, the Calabrese community in particular has not been forthcoming in celebrating the achievement of its members. And that has resulted in the negative stereotype that's prevalent in the media being considered to be the identity of the Calabrese. And nothing could be further from the truth. And I'll give an example. Some time ago, a friend of mine referred me to a new travel book on Italy, and I read it, and it was a good book, and I learned again that the romance of Venice, the culture of Firenze, fashion in the land, and what a beautiful beach the Amalfi Coast had. And almost as a footnote, the author also included a very brief visit to Taormina. And when I looked again, I said there was absolutely no mention of Calabria. And anyone who has visited Calabria, and for example has gone to Tropea, in my view, will vouch that it's the equivalent, if not better, than anything that the northern beaches have to offer. Anyone that's been fortunate enough to spend time in the Silla National Park will appreciate what it's had to offer. And even historically, anyone that has read the classical Greek literature will see the number of references that reference Calabria. But the problem is that nobody really knows about it because the Calabria region itself hasn't promoted it. And here in Australia, we're allowed the negative stereotype to be perpetuated because we've not seen to redress anything that's been said in the media. So as an association, we've decided that the best way to combat that is to have a public acknowledgement of the achievement of individuals through the Calabrese heritage so that people can appreciate the contribution that has been made to this society by people of Calabrese origin. And the reason that we think it's important is because it hasn't, in our view, been done today. And that's why we're here today. And unfortunately, it's 3 years since the first award was made in 2019, when Maria Arabia was a recipient. And we're now very pleased that we are able to hold this event. And it's my very pleasant duty to just say a few words about what the recipient of this year's award has achieved, because I think you'll be astounded. And the recipient this year was born in Australia. Her father was born in Calabria, in Bedla, which is in the province of Catanzaro, which by coincidence is also the origin of Pat Rocker, our treasurer, and a Princesi mother who was born in Pescara. And her father arrived in Australia in 1960 and her mother in 1962. And she's the eldest of 3 children, having 2 brothers. She has 2 adult children, one of whom is here tonight, sitting at the table there with her partner. She holds a Bachelor of Arts with honours in Italian from La Trobe University, where she completed a thesis on the theatre of Giuseppe Giacosa. She obtained postgraduate diploma in education and qualified as a teacher of Italian and English as a second language. She holds a Master of Arts in Applied Linguistics from the University of Melbourne, and she has a Doctor of Philosophy in Education from Monash University. During her career, she was a recipient of a number of scholarships, including one to Perugia University and another at the Cal Foscari University in Venice. She's the Director of Intersect Global Partners, working with government, industry and community to lead and support a range of inclusive and equity practices. She served 2 terms as a Commissioner of the Victorian Multicultural Commission. She continues to be an adjunct fellow at the Institute for Sustainable Industries and Livable Cities at Victoria University, where she worked for over 22 years. And she continues to supervise research students and undertake research. She has worked in educational leadership at various universities from Australia, across Australia, and was the manager of Cultural Diversity Office at Victoria University. In the Australia Day Honours of 2021, she was awarded the Medal of Order of Australia for her services to tertiary education. And one of our regrets is that COVID prevented us from recognising that award in the appropriate manner. Among other roles, she is a board member of Multicultural Arts Victoria. She is the editor-in-chief of Segmento magazine, copies of which are on your tables. And we thank Giovanni Butera for providing those magazines for us tonight. She's on the Regional Advisory Committee member for the Victoria Multicultural Commission. She's a member of the Centre for Resilience and Inclusive Societies Consortia. Like a true Italian, she loves the football and she's an ambassador of Melbourne Victory Football Club and an ambassador of the Asian Football Cup. She is a love of languages ambassador and indeed speaks several languages. She is an advisor to the Society for the South Sudanese Professionals Association and a past board member of the Edmund Rice Community and Refugee Services. And she continues to work closely with a number of community and refugee organisations. She is also a director of the Zoo Victoria, and she's passionate about the protection of wildlife and contributing to a just and healthy world. Her published output has been prolific, filling several pages. Indeed, she is still active in researching and writing, and her latest publication concerns the effect of COVID on long-distance learning, published this year. And she has presented papers at numerous conferences, nationally and internationally. As a pastime, I suppose, she's passionate about the tango and I'm informed that she never misses an opportunity to hit the dance floor, so we're looking forward to a demonstration in due course. She also refutes the stereotype that's often promulgated of the Calabrese being a terribly patriarchal society and women being relegated to the role of domestic goddesses. Her career and her life is living proof that Calabrese women can do it all. And I'm sure that you will all agree that Dr. Teresa De Fazio is a very worthy recipient of the Australian Calabrese Cultural Association Calabrese of the Year Award for 2021 for the contribution that she's made to the Australian community. And I now call on Pat Rocco and Vince Mirabelli.
Thank you. Grazie, buonasera. I'm going to say, you know when you used to go to weddings and they'd go, buonasera, signori, signore? You go there just to get so excited. So I'm going to say, buonasera, signore, signore. The glasses. But who would have guessed as a kid trying to work out my identity between making stoppasata and hiding in the garage making passata while everybody else was, eating Vegemite sandwiches and going to ballet classes. And one day I'd be standing here, getting a standing ovation. I am truly, truly, truly touched. I really I have words that God on paper, but I'm glad I have them because I don't know that I would be able to say anything. But before I start, I would like to acknowledge the first people of this beautiful land which has taken us in, on which we come together tonight, the Boonwurrung Boonwurrung and the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung peoples of the East Kulin Nation, who nurtured their families and passed on their age-old traditions. And of course, I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and to all elders of all communities represented here tonight and in our community. And I think that's what this night is all about. It's about coming together to acknowledge, share, celebrate culture, traditions, and, as Liz said, the importance of identity. I would like to acknowledge the Australian Calabrese Cultural Association, the board led by Vince Morfuni as president, and all they've done to organise this very special event tonight. I would like to acknowledge the Honourable Nicola Carré, member of the Chamber of Deputies in the Parliament of Italy. And I am here tonight with my lovely daughter, Isabella, and her partner, Jess. I'm very proud of them both. And I acknowledge my very good friends, the Honourable Termo Langole MP, who's over here, and the Honorary Consul of Ecuador, Tatiana Astudillo, Beverly Pinder, patron of the Father Bob Foundation and former councillor of the City of Melbourne, a wonderful woman in her own right. She has quite a bio too, as many people here have, I'm sure. And Beverly Pinder's wonderful partner, Russell Mortimer. Also, Segmentos magazine and Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Giovanni Budera, with whom I work now as a bit of a career change during COVID. I've gone to join Segmental magazine. It's probably one of the best decisions I've made. And my colleague as Regional Advisory Council member of the Victorian Multicultural Commission, appointed just now by Jeanette Zeno. My parents, unfortunately, are unable to attend. I know that they would have been very proud of this moment and proud to come together, as you could imagine, I'm sure. Your parents, you know what it's like. But they are too frail now to attend such events. My son Luca, he's over the other side of town. He's accepting an award in the sports. You know, he's a cricketer and football and everything else that the right. But to say that I feel honoured to be standing here is definitely an understatement. I actually do not know how I got here. I do fully, however, fully appreciate the privilege bestowed to me by the Calabrese community. When accepting an award, it is often tradition to say something clever and insightful and about how the achievement has been attained. And I'm afraid I don't actually have anything clever to say. I don't have an anecdote about something amazing that I've done. I've just really, I think my story is no different to every other story of every other child migrant who has come here. I'm sure we are connected in that we've probably got very similar stories. Growing up, trying to work out your identity, being part of a diaspora in Australia, being caught between two worlds. What I do know is that the Calabrese, has been said, they're quiet, they're resilient, and they're hardworking. And these are the characteristics that describe many migrants who have contributed to Australian society. I have to say I was a quiet child. I know, Giovanni, you probably don't believe that, but I was a very quiet child. I hardly spoke in my first few years. In these days, when I was growing up, being Italian only seemed to attract bigotry, and being Calabrese seemed to attract even further prejudice, even from some Italians at times. In my silence, however, I did watch, and I learnt the uselessness of labels and their power to silence. But thanks to my father's determination that his children did not want for anything, I had the advantage of education, the most powerful social transformational force. So as a young primary school student, I found myself translating and filling in forms, sorting out issues for my parents, and then my uncles, and then my aunties, and all the neighbours down the street in Faulkner, etc., because their grasp of English and their understanding of processes in Australia was just too foreign. In the next minute, poring over grant applications, submissions to government, trying to gain resources, trying to raise issues for the community. And all of a sudden you find your voice. You stand up in meetings to ensure that the voice of those who are not at the table, not at those meetings, was heard. And that's, I think, what I've hopefully tried to do, is just to keep asking questions and to keep raising the voice, especially for those who have no voice in the community. My hope is that I've led or contributed to some better community solutions. Being part of Two Worlds gave me an advantage, insights into the struggles of migrants and refugees, as well as the richness that they bring to a community to create something quite unique. I learnt, like many here I imagine, the value of what we call multiculturalism, of the importance of allowing people to express their identity through language, through festivities, through their faith, through their food, just to be. Be themselves, find their way, no labels. No labels that only serve to stereotype and lock you into a characterisation of someone that you're not anyway. No prejudice, just acceptance. It's more enriching. I mean, really, what provides you with more potential to contribute to the world? Being a victim of prejudice or a recipient of acceptance? And of course, as I wondered about the community in my various roles, and you've heard my bio, I cannot do so without having a sense of pride in the contribution of the many Calabrese who were and continue to be part of creating a more socially inclusive Australian community. I'm very proud of my own parents, who have always been quiet role models for the community involvement. They've contributed to the community in many ways. For instance, my father from a very small town in Nicastro, La Bella, if anybody else is like Pat and I, we've come from the same area. But my dad didn't think twice in becoming a CFA volunteer. In fact, he almost lost his life once up in Macedon. And being the papa that he is, he didn't say anything. He came back after 4 days, absolutely like black, because the ash had sort of seeped into his skin. He was tired. He didn't say anything. I found out, in fact, about the near tragedy when they sort of got surrounded in the truck by fire by reading the age. And he never spoke. He's never spoken about it. But the only thing he did say when he came back was typically Calabrese. He said, he turned to my mother and he says, Maria, ma non mi dai mai più una tazza di tè. Said, volevo un po' di vino rosso, ma sempre mi davano quella sporca, quell'acqua sporca. Non vorrei mai vedere più quel tè. So basically, he asked his mum never to give him a cup of tea again. He just wanted his little half glass of red wine every night. That was what made him happy, because during the fires, all they did was dish out the tea. That was the only thing he ever complained about. But as Calabrese fathers did, he came back from the fires, he did what he had to do, he threw away the overalls because they were too bad you couldn't do anything with them. He sat down to his pasta and he just got on with things. He's never been a drinker, but his half glass of homemade wine every night was his treat. And his wine was often shared by many who he would invite back to our house as his way of sharing Italian culture. My mother has always been selfless too, constantly cooking and taking care of people in the community that needed help, support in some way. And the mantra in my house was, fai bene scordati, fai male pensaci, which means do good deeds and forget about them, do something bad and think about it. And that's really all we did. That was something my parents sort of really inculcated in us. They brought a sense of community connection from their homeland and they imparted it to their children. I don't think it's remarkable because I think it's a similar story for many Calabrese. In fact, I think it's a mindset that connects many, no matter where our cultural backgrounds. I see the Australian Calabrese Cultural Association as part of a mindset that doesn't think twice about contributing to the community either, enriching and educating, and importantly, ensuring that the voice of Calabrese rise above the ludicrous stereotypes. ACCA's work is important, and I applaud the vision and the commitment of those involved in establishing the organisation. I had the pleasure of interviewing the Honourable Tony Pagone, AMQC, for the next issue of Segmental, so that comes out in June, so stay tuned. He recounted how he as an award, received his award as member of the General Division of the Order of Australia. And he took it, he said he wasn't really sure whether he should accept it, but then he took it because he thought it was as much an award for those who supported him, everybody who contributed to where he's ended up. And I think I have to agree. It is, tonight is very much about that too. I'm deeply moved and I'm deeply honoured to receive this award, and I dedicate it to my father, my mother, my children, my family, and the many loved ones who have all been part of the journey here in Australia and in my second home in Calabria. So I'll just bear with me in a little bit of Italian, not a lot. Questo premio è un tributo alla resilienza e al calore della mia famiglia italiana, che mi ha insegnato tanto della vita, che ha condiviso dei valori di umanità e che mi ha sempre assicurato sostegno. Anche se siamo lontani, siamo sempre vicini. Again, I thank Vince Morfuni, Pat Rocker, Josiah, everybody here. I think I best not say any more names because I might forget, because I'm just a bit overwhelmed. But I would like to thank all the members of ACCA for this award, and it has a very special significance for me and my family. Grazie.
Thank you very much, Louise. Again, I think she exemplifies the Calabrese trait of almost too modest in recognising our own achievements, but rest assured that we do recognise it and we celebrate it with you. I now call on Giovanni Butera, who wants to make a presentation to Teresa in relation to the Segmento magazine. Giovanni.
First of all, I would like to say just one thing. After tonight, who inside this room is not proud of being Calabrian? I'm proud of being Calabrian. Yes. Even though Teresa said that she's very happy working at Segmento, I can tell you that she regretted it immensely. In a sense, working for me is a simple thing. And Teresa joined us in September, June last year, and the first magazine that we did, the first edition that we did together, was about sustainability. Okay, and to say thank you, Teresa, for working together with me, getting out to this magazine, suffering a lot, getting paid very little, and often I was asking her, Teresa, why are you so busy? Come on, do something. She was saying, Giovanni, tonight I'm busy going dancing in tango. So amongst all the things that you hear, Teresa found also the time to enjoy separately in tango. So it's not a person that is spending her time only doing, work or other things. And what I thought to do tonight is to present Teresa, which is the cover of the first magazine that we did together. I also would like to thank Vince Mirabella, Smurfuni and Pat, because Calabrese do a lot of things, but we need also somebody that is an amplifier, that makes every people know what we do. And the work that Vince Smurfuni, Vince Mirabella, Pat Rocca, and all the team at ACCA are doing is just amazing. So thank you very much.
One more moment of your attention, please. First of all, I've never heard, or should I say not heard, anyone speak like you are so attentive. To be congratulated. If anyone wants to take a photograph, you're most welcome to now. Otherwise, could I please ask you all to stand for a moment, please? An old tradition which is sadly dying. To Teresa, with our thanks, our gratitude, and more than anything else as a Calabrese, we are honoured to have you our award recipients for 2021. To Teresa, hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Hip hip, hooray! Kato, play a hot tango for me later. I'm dancing this gorgeous Calabrese woman. Thank you.